Hey guys, hope you're doing well and welcome back into my studio and back to my channel. If you've clicked on this video then yes, you're right. Today we're going to be talking about if my business failed, and in particular if making changes to a business means that it's failed. Now the reason I'm talking about this today is because I've been told in the past that my business had failed. In fact, the exact words used were, "It's a shame you don't make jewellery anymore and that your business idea failed. What are you going to do now?" And honestly, hearing that really hurt. And it made me wonder if they were right. Like, had I failed because I'd changed away from jewellery? And was what I thought was a business really just an idea? And did everyone else think the same? So I guess I want to talk about this today because yes, in a way they were right. I don't make jewellery anymore. But no, my business did not fail. In fact, it grew, and I'm going to explain to you why. Now, before we jump straight into this, and if you're new here, then my name's Dee. I'm a self-taught artist and surface pattern designer, and I make a living selling my art on products that I create right here in my home studio in Scotland. Now, I've been self-employed for over 6 years now, selling on Etsy and also via wholesale to my lovely plethora of gorgeous stockists. Now, these stockists range from gift shops, galleries, bookshops, garden centres and much more. And I like to make videos sharing and showing what it's really like to run a business like mine from your home. Today's topic is really close to my heart, so I wanted to share my experiences of feeling like my business had failed, as well as the path that I took and why. So here is my little backstory. When I first started my business, it was focused mainly on paper crafts, jewellery, accessories, and even children's clothing. Now, it definitely was a big mix of a lot of different things, but it got me started and it was all the things that I really enjoyed doing at that time. As the jewellery side of my business developed, I actually separated my business into a botanical jewellery shop, which was the Butterfly and Toadstool, and then I opened a second shop dedicated to my children's clothing and accessories, which I called Toadstool Tots. I absolutely loved running both sides of my business, but as I was doing everything myself, it got to the point where I was spread far too thin. I began to struggle to keep up with each side, and neither side could grow beyond the point that I had already managed because of this, and it really all just felt a bit stuck. But then something quite magical happened and I won a place at my very first trade show with my jewellery thanks to Theo Pafitis and the SBS crew. Now, this trade show had come at the exact right time for me, as I'd already begun selling my jewellery to shops, both on a commission basis and also via wholesale. So although it was super daunting, I was ready to take this next big step. And I'm really pleased to be able to say that that trade show went very well. I also got to meet Theo, and I ended up in the local newspapers about my small business too. However, to keep up with the Butterfly and Toadstool's new growth, I had to close down Toadstool Tots, and this was seen as my big failure number 1. Yes, I was super sad to close this side of my business because I loved making children's clothing, especially because I got to work with fabrics. But there really wasn't a way that I could grow this side of my business or even just keep it open while I was growing my jewellery brand, because there was just so much to do with that at the time. So it just made sense to let Toadstool Tots go. Now, on to my big failure number 2. At this point, my jewellery was selling to stockists both here in the UK, and I'd also landed a few stockists overseas. So you might think that it was all sweets and roses and that everything was rolling along fine, but really it wasn't. You see, every piece of jewellery that I made back then was made by hand, by my hands, and it took a long time and an awful lot of preparation to make each individual piece. But as I was making costume jewellery, so nothing with pure gold or silver in it, there was only so much that my stockists were willing to pay for it, and that makes total sense, but it also meant that my profit margins for selling wholesale were very small, and I began to realise that financially it wasn't going to be a viable long-term business for me, as I was really limited by how much jewellery I could actually make and therefore sell myself. So in short, yes, it was doing fine, but I had no time to design anything new, and because it sometimes felt like a struggle and that it really couldn't grow much, I kind of started to fall out of love of making jewellery altogether. Now by this point, it was early 2019 and I had found my old watercolour materials and had begun to paint a little again, just in my spare time, for a bit of creative release because I was feeling really restrained by the lack of movement with my jewellery. With this, I filled a sketchbook of just little projects that I did to get back into the way of painting again, as I hadn't really painted anything for years. But suddenly I felt really happy again. And so I continued kind of dabbling with ideas with painting for almost a year while I was continuing with my jewellery brand. And then 2020 happened. With everything shutting down in the world and all uncertainty of what was happening, I literally threw myself into painting as a way of coping. It kept me busy, it helped me stay calm, and it also allowed me to feel like I was working on something productive. As horrible as 2020 was, it allowed me to slow down, catch up, and really just focus on what made me happy and where I wanted to be as a creative. As things started to open up again in the months that followed, I launched my very first collection of illustrated greetings cards, and oh my goodness, it felt amazing. Fast forward to today, and I have completely changed my business, focusing on creating products solely from my art and switching away from making jewellery altogether. So with all of these changes throughout the years, I guess the question that I wanted to answer today was whether or not I feel like my business failed at any point on its journey. And honestly, I can say no. I made changes to my business because I wanted it to grow, not because it had failed. I made changes to keep it aligned with where I was a creative at each one of those stages, as well as what opportunities and barriers had arisen on that path. No two businesses are ever the same, and neither are any two people or the paths that they walk. So comparison and opinions shouldn't come into it if you're thinking about changing any aspect of your business or life. Every stage and every change I made taught me so much. So I think seeing change in business means that you've learned, and I certainly learned loads. Changes don't need to be big or hard to make, and they can always be switched back if you change your mind. So if you ever see that a business has changed, please don't assume that it's because of failure. Look to see everything that they have achieved, what they've learned, and how much they've grown. It might just surprise you. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. If this has sparked anything in you, or if you've been made to feel like this in your own business, then please leave a comment below. I can assure you that you are not alone, and it's really nice for us to be creating this community of like-minded business owners. Thanks so much again, guys, for watching. Please take care and enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.